Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
Entertainment Group presents the Madness Comic Network with original programming and additional comic-related content.
What is Path of the Pale Rider anyway? Is it a comic book? No, that's not it. Is it this? What the heck is Path of the Pale Rider, man? There's no way this is right. How about this? I have no idea.
We're gonna rob a bank.
Oh, it's this.
The Madness Comic Network and Comic Related Madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning. It is Tuesday. I hope you have your coffee. We're going to be chatting with some indie creators. We're going to talk about lots of stuff. I'm really excited to be here. But first, Path of the Pale Rider. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the updates because honestly, when you back Kickstarters and you get 4,000 Kickstarter updates, it's just real easy to sometimes just delete them. I do that sometimes. I try not to because, of course, me being a Kickstarter creator, I understand that I'm trying to give everybody information in those updates, but I know people aren't reading them. I know they aren't. So if you're a backer of Path of the Pale Rider issue number 3, know that sadly we had a scheduling issue with our colorist. She was not able to stay on through the end of the project. She has been replaced. Matt Chambers, who is a well-renowned colorist, he's affiliated with Charter Comics, as am I. He has taken on Path of the Pale Rider 3 and hoping that he will stay for as far as we can go. And he's signed on like 7 days ago and has completed like 8 pages. Like he's just flying through pages and he's doing amazing work. I wanted to just show you guys a little bit of what he has accomplished. And he's done more than this. I can't show it to you because spoilers, right? So I'm not going to spoil the things. You're not going to see the text because this is a really funny scene and I don't want to ruin it for everybody. Hey, Chris Hayes, good morning. Chris Hayes is actually the one that introduced me to Matt Chambers in the first place. Good morning, Arlise. Good morning, everybody. So here's one of the pages that Matt has done. This is just crazy scene where we see the guy, Frederick Needlemeyer, who got smashed at the end of 2. He's at the doctor's office. They're giving him a once-over, and of course, this doctor is now freaked out. It's a pretty funny scene. He just does really good work. So I don't think, we're hurting in any way, shape, or form. I think the comic will be out pretty quickly. I know we're not going to hit the July deadline, probably not because of printing and formatting, but we're going to be close. And thanks to Matt and him jumping in with both feet. So there's a little tidbit for you of things getting done. And this is where I stop sharing because of spoilers. So, but things are going the right direction, which makes me happy. Everything else is done. I'm still waiting for the Funko Pops. Those are always the last thing to come in. But like everything else is done. So I'm really excited. And we're already planning the next one because that's what we do. So that's it. That's all I got, I think. Our guest today is someone that is really well known in the indie comic book community. If you don't know who JD Calderon is, you've been living under a rock. JD has been around for such a long time. He's timeless. When you look at him, you just don't know how old he is either. I had no idea how old he was when I first met JD. I was like, he looks like he could be my age. Maybe? I don't know. You be the judge of that. But has just a huge catalog of books under his name and accomplishments. He wears all the hats. He's one of the guys that you look forward to picking their brain because they've walked the walk and they've done all the things and they're successful. So without further ado, let me introduce everybody to JD Calderon. Good morning.
Good morning. You're very kind.
Honestly, I had no idea how old you were when we first met. I was like, I think you're like me, like early 40s. So we're just gonna say we're both 29.
There you go. Yes. We'll stick. Well, yeah. I wish. 29 would be good. Woof.
I know, wouldn't it? However,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I would be where I am at 29. I would have made like a lot worse decisions. So.
True. I've been there, done that. I made those decisions already.
Right. So tell everybody who you are and like just what you do just in general, and then we'll go into more of like your origin story.
Okay. I mean, my name is JD Calderon. I'm the writer, the creator of the Oswald Chronicles and Tall Tales Online. I've been self-publishing since 91, 92, depending,
Wow.
which book you pick up. And I mean, I started off with a small group of people. We're out of New York. We're out of New York, so we're New York based. And we were all really young. And I had a friend of mine bring me to. He was going to School of Art and Design, and he was like, and he knew I wanted to create. We were part of a role playing game, so we played role playing games. He knew I wanted to. I was writing, and I wanted to make these comics. And he says, "Look, I'm going to bring you the best people from my class." Right. So he brought me over Daphne, who's one of the artists that's how I met her, and we've been together ever since. And a bunch of other guys, Matt Lunsford, Zach Lenison, just a slew of other people that I met through that period. And we put out, Tall Tales, which is still running. We put out something called Dreamweavers, which I'm looking to bring back, and we did something called Reaver, which I'm also looking to bring back. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting stuff, and then we went on and
you have Oswald Chronicles,
right?
Do you have
Tall Tales.
Tall Tales.
Tall Tales. Dreamweavers is an older title. Reaver is an older title. I wrote professionally for a little while. I wrote Tenchi Muyu, La Blue Girl, Demon Beast Invasion, Ixir 3, and Phantom Quest Corps. And those are the ones that at least came out. Because there was a couple others that didn't make it out because we had a situation where somebody ran off with a bunch of money. Yeah. So.
I'm sorry. That's terrible.
It wasn't my money.
It still doesn't matter. It's like it's when it's part of your baby and it's part of your project and it just stinks because someone does something nefarious. It's hard sometimes where it's like you really wish, that the project would see the light of day, but
yeah,
it's not going to happen.
No. The issue with that was that the person who ran off with the cash ran off with Pioneer's money. So Pioneer was the one that was doing it. So Tenchi Muyu. And we were supposed to do another 18 issues. They wanted to contract me and the artist. She ran off with the budget. It was about $50K, I think. Anywhere from 40 to 50.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When was this? What year was this?
Oof, 96, 97. Okay. Yeah. So
and there wasn't anything you guys could do about it? I mean.
No, she was the project manager. She's the one that put it together. She's the one that brought us in. So she was, I mean, it worked while it worked.
Happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Hi, Isaac, Pop's grandson. Yeah, by the way, it was my birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Isaac. Happy birthday to you. That's what you get. So anyway, back to our conversation. Sorry about that. Yay!
Hey, what's up, Isaac?
Did you like that? Was it okay?
I had to do it to him because he was smiling heavily. So.
Happy birthday, dude.
Yep, happy birthday.
10. He's 10 now. Oh, decade old. Oh my God.
So his birthday was on the 16th?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I was like, you don't look 16.
Yeah, I was like.
But I mean, JD and I are 29, so.
This is true. Yeah.
I'm only 25, but I have
there you go.
34 years of experience.
Nice.
Oh my goodness.
Back to the show. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
He's literally called Pops because he pops in.
Ah, there you go. He pops out.
He pops back out.
There you go. Nice.
So back in the 90s, you had this deal with Pioneer and the project manager ran off with all your money. How do you recover from that?
Oh, you get a day job. That's literally what happened to me. I was writing professionally and I had an opportunity to work and pitch to Marvel, not so much DC, but definitely to Marvel because I knew some people up there. And I was just like, I'm not interested. I honestly don't like pitching to editors. It's one of those things I find to be boring. I would write pitch sheets because I did it when I was doing this other process. I just don't enjoy it. And then also the other thing is like I enjoy Marvel comics, but I've always had a hard time realizing myself writing something like Spider-Man. It doesn't hold, like I like reading it, right?
Yes.
But I don't necessarily find myself wanting to write it. You know, like
Yeah,
I love.
I can see that. Like
Yeah, I
I
love
enjoy
Thor.
them too, but like when I write my own project, I'm not writing superheroes.
Right. Yeah. So like I love Thor, right? I love
Yeah.
Walter Simon's run, but I can't envision myself writing that character. Same thing with Daredevil, with
Yeah.
Frank Miller. I love Frank Miller's run. I mean, I adore it. I can't picture myself really writing Daredevil. You know what I'm saying? And if the challenge were to ever come up, I would be like, oh wow, like it would be like for me, I would write it in like, how do I honor Frank Miller? You know,
Yeah.
it wouldn't even be like my own vision. It would be like, oh well, I have to do something to try to honor, what he's done. So it's something crazy like that.
Yeah, that's a fine line too. Like coming into someone else's project that's had issues running, how to stay in that world and make sure you're in canon.
Right.
Also pay homage to what's come before, but still be original. Like it's
Right.
a challenge. It's a challenge.
Yeah. And the problem, and if you read Daredevil, there's been a lot of really good Daredevil runs.
Yes.
But the problem is a lot of it tends to be shadows of what Frank Miller has done. What's up, Glenn? So it's a lot of Kingpin, the Hand.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that stuff. So it's like you end up just retreading.
I'm only laughing because at first people don't realize this is a backdrop, and it's like, and then I move too quick or something like flashes in it, and they're like, hey. I forget which show I was on. Someone changed their backdrop, so we had the same one. They were like, wait a minute. So, fun times.
Nice.
Right. But I can see what you're saying. Like a lot of times people are paying more homage to the successful run, the popular run, instead of trying to be original and do something new. I don't know, either to a little category A, little category B. Pay homage to what people liked, right? Make sure that you're staying true to the audience because that's what they like. But are they afraid to try something new? I don't know.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I don't know. I think it's they're taking the same toys and they're just repositioning them somewhere else on the board.
Right.
And it's instead of introducing new toys. Right.
I think that's one of the reasons why people grow out of Marvel and DC and these comic characters. These properties have been around for so long because we've been reading them for so long. It's like, okay, how many different iterations of Spider-Man, Superman? How many sidekicks does Batman need?
When you hear the Bat family,
the Bat family, the Superman family, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like how many times did they replace the Green Lantern? Just a new one, a new one, a new one. So that's what I love about indie is because you're getting a brand new story from scratch. So it's not like you're coming in with any predisposition, any opinions. You're just immersed in this brand new world. And you've created quite a world, sir. I'm going to pull this up just so people can see and talk about this. So I know you talked about self-publishing, and this is really something I want to pick your brain on because a lot of times indie people start out where they're like, they have the intention of getting picked up by Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, whatever.
Right, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
And it's not. But then you have the people that have worked for Marvel, DC, who have left them and are now self-publishing. So that tells me something. But I mean, there's just a method behind all of it. But when you look at this, people, I think you are very happy with the method that you are using because you've been so successful. Good morning, George.
What's up, George? I was just talking to George last night.
Were you? I'm sure it was all good things. George is such a positive influence on everybody.
Yes, I try to corrupt him every time I meet him.
You? I mean, he's friends with a guy named Hades, so I think Hades tries to corrupt him. I'm just kidding. But I'm still scrolling, people. Look at this. Look. Just success after success. Yeah. So I gotta say, I think you found your niche and your audience. And you can cut out the middleman with this. I love that you're able to produce your own story and deliver it directly to your audience. You don't have to, cater to a Marvel or DC, where they're like, nah, I want you to take the good guy and I'll make him a bad guy. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. Right? You get full, complete control over your story.
I mean, it's funny because seeing as I've done something like that, I've worked with editors and I've worked on properties, right?
Yeah.
It's I think everyone should at least try to do it once or twice. You know, if you can get it to Marvel, I would say go do it. You know, go work for them for a little while. You know, if you can. You know, getting the notoriety, just getting that rub will probably help you out, right?
Yeah.
Resume. But I think the other thing that will help you out as a writer is that when you put yourself in that box, it forces you to become a little bit more creative, right? Because you start to have to think like, damn, I got these certain guidelines that I have to work within, right? Yeah. And then how do you work that story within that framework that you're given? So even though it can be stifling, right? If you maybe do it too long, but you know, there's I learned a great deal working on those properties, like, you know, so that's helped me later on. So I mean, I think it's a good exercise. Like it's like any good writing. Like you get a writing prompt, you just do some kind of weird exercise.
Yeah. Where someone's like, hey, lady gets run over by a car, right? And you're like, oh. Exactly.
Yeah, like George gave me a writing prompt from last night for, like, he was interviewing me about writing and stuff. He gave me a writing prompt at the end of it, and I just started laughing, and I started thinking about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know. Then I told him, I said, I'll send him a 300-page novel or something.
You're like, I'll just type it up tonight. I'm good. I'll get you.
Oh no, he'll get it 6 months from now.
Oh, okay. I was like, dang.
Yeah, well, I'll just send him the Kickstarter link. That's it.
Oh. You're like, here you go. Here's your story. Go back it.
That's it.
George's like, yeah, I can't wait to read that. What was the writing prompt? Can I ask?
A hammer on an empty city sidewalk.
That was it?
That's it.
George, that's sadistic.
That's easy. That's it. That's an easy one.
I mean, you're a professional, so you've been doing this a while. You could run with that. A lot of us will be like,
I'm from New York. Listen, I'm from New York, so the instantaneous thing is comes to mind is like, is there blood on the hammer?
Dang, that's for you. See, I thought I was the only one that went there because that's how my mind works too. I was like, this is a murder weapon. That's what that is. Right. Left in plain sight, hoping that someone will pick it up and put their fingerprints on it. That's what it is.
You know, that's the first one. You know, but it's. There you go.
That's the funniest stuff. I would say swear words, but I'm not going to. But yes, that's the funniest thing. It'd be like saying that to me. I'd be like, I know exactly what I'm doing with that.
Right. So you know, but there's so many different places you can run with that, right? It says,
right.
You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a murder weapon. You're into zombies. Maybe somebody was, you know, cracking zombie skulls with it. Right.
Right. There's no other context. It could be in the zombie apocalypse, and that's what's left.
Exactly. You know, it could be. You know, one of the things I was thinking of doing with it is you know, someone who picks up the hammer, is the story of the hammer itself, how it got there, right?
Who made the hammer?
Right.
It could be like the red violin.
Right. Yeah. Who made the right? It could be Thor's hammer, right? It could be an iteration of that, right? It could be a whole bunch of things. So there's a whole litany of things that can be done with it. And, you know, it's one of those things where when you're giving these prompts, you just got to try to have fun with them.
Right.
With the Oswald Chronicles, I heard a prompt a long time. There's a couple of prompts, right? So one of them was writing a story about a one-eyed angel. Was it a one-eyed angel or one-eyed baby? It was something like that.
Both of those would be interesting.
Right. So I ended up writing like a 9-issue series, a 9-issue story arc in the Oswald Chronicles called The Clive Cycle. And it's where Oswald encounters a one-eyed baby. And he's an angel, and he's lost, and he's looking for his parents, and Oswald helps him find his parents. And this all happens in dreams, so weird stuff just happens.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Real quick before we go, I just wanted to have a shout out to Carissa. Good morning. She closed out her Kickstarter yesterday. Ended at like 200 and I don't know 80 something %. It was like amazing.
Nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Carissa. When I'm looking at these, here's the Oswald Chronicles. I can't talk this morning. I gotta drink more coffee. And then, so this one was in June.
Yeah.
And then I was there and I remembered issues 1 and 2.
Yes.
Was in July. Just this month, right?
No. It's
okay.
that...
I'm looking at last updated. I'm sorry. So I'm looking at updates. Let's see. How often do you Kickstarter?
Okay, so this is how I run them. So right now, that particular story, these are the 2 covers, right? That's running right now, right? So I just sent off, I think, half of it, because what had happened was UPS, being UPS, smashed up one of the boxes really good.
Oh,
and out of 160 books, 72 of them were damaged. It's not the printer's fault. It was all UPS. So I spoke to the printer. They're going to put in a claim, but they're going to send me my book. So hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have those. But once that's shipped out, I'll give it a couple more days, and then I will launch my next campaign.
Gotcha. So how often do you do them?
Oh, okay. So, all right. So my next campaign, right, is going to run anywhere from 14 to 18 days. I haven't decided yet.
Okay, so you do short campaigns. Whew.
Yeah, I do short campaigns. Yeah, like the last one was 21 days. I'm just experimenting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, I'm experimenting. I'm trying to see what's working the best. So I'm gonna do 14 to 18 days, and then that's it. That's the sign up page. So go sign up.
Yes, I wanted to show everybody. The link is in the description. I'm also going to drop it in the comments. This is JD's book that's going to be up next. I am already subscribed to this. There's the pre-launch link, everybody, right here. So you can go sign up and get notified upon launch. But we really haven't even dived into what the Oswald Chronicles is. Yeah. So that's what I want people to know. Like, yeah, I'm showing all these links, but why should they?
So just to give you an idea of how I launched. So I
do want to hear that too. Sorry.
So all right. So typically the way it is I end the campaign, right? And the second I end the campaign, that stuff goes straight off to the printers.
So it's already complete.
Yeah. I don't put anything out unless it's already finished. I have a pretty big catalog, back catalog already prepared. But so that'll go to the printer.
Yeah.
It usually takes 2 weeks, right? And then I get paid. Kickstarter takes 2 weeks to pay us.
Yeah.
And then I'll start wrapping up everybody's packages, start shipping it out. So usually from one end to the other is usually by the end of the campaign is usually 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks. And then at the end of that point, I'll launch again. So probably once every. I'm trying to get in at least 8 campaigns this year.
How many? 8 campaigns a year?
Yeah, I'm trying to get in 8 this year. Yeah, 6 to 8, but I would like to do 8.
Now, how much of the comic are you doing? You're the writer. You're the artist.
I'm the writer. Yes. No, I am not the artist. I'm not the artist. So
Who's
let's
the
say.
artist?
All right. So I'll hold these up. Right. So this is all Jade Gonzalez.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's the interior artist. She did the covers on these. These were colored by Slamet. And I know I'm brutalizing his last name, Mugino. Right. So he's the color artist on these. But yeah, so she's the artist. I do the lettering, so gotcha. I get them. I letter the pages, and I actually enjoy lettering. I don't know if you letter, if you have somebody else.
I do. I letter.
Yeah, I consider it another level of editing for me.
I agree. Well, here's the thing. A lot of times. My script is written as a screenplay originally. So I don't have like panel, page, this, that, and the other. Right. So my artist and I work together to thumbnail out the panels and everything. And depending on how he draws it, sometimes either my text doesn't fit, right, or based off of the information that he has on the page, I can change it ever so slightly so it's more relevant to what's there. So It just depends on how it comes out is how I'm going to letter it. And it would be a pain in the ass if I had a letterer that was like, had the script and I'm like, change all of it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Go back and change it again. You know, how many change orders would that be? So many. It wouldn't be
Yep.
practical in any way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
So I decided I would take on lettering. And if you look at my first issue, it's okay. I learned a ton about lettering between issues 1 and 2, and then again in 3. So, you know, I continue to up my game in lettering. So that
Yeah.
way I can hopefully catch up to like how wonderful Marco's art and Matt Chambers' coloring is. My lettering will be there someday.
Right. Yeah, I mean, listen, I consider lettering the invisible art, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
yeah, the more the less you recognize it, the better it is.
Right.
For me, if I notice the lettering,
It takes me out of the
something's
story.
wrong.
Yeah.
Right, because it's taking me away. Because I've seen some stuff where the lettering is so fancy and florid, where I'm just like, you know,
Or if
this
it's
is
hard
cool.
to read, or if it's
Right.
covering too much art, or the
Mhm.
styles change in the middle. I actually learned a ton from Sam Vera. Did a great video on it on his channel about, and had links to a bunch of resources. And that's kind of what happened. Is like I did some lettering, and I talked to a compatriot, and they were just like, "You break so many rules," and I was like, "I do what?" And he was like, "You break
Right.
a lot of rules." And I was like, "There's rules?" Shows you I knew nothing, right? He was like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, Laurie, there's rules about lettering." And I was like, "Oh shit." Like, start over. I need to start over. So I
Yeah.
did, you know?
Yeah. And that's it. And the one fantastic thing about what we're doing is that we can always go back and correct them.
Right. And I was like,
Right.
I'm actually in the process of re-lettering issue 1 because I look at it now and I'm just like so cringe. You ever
Right.
do that? You
Right.
look back at an issue like, ooh, I could do that better.
Oh yeah, there's at least there's at least 3 or 4 stories where I've relettered them at least twice, maybe 3 times. Yeah, so it happens. It happens.
Oh,
You gotta
Paul
go.
is here. Paul is the one that was like, "You break all the rules, Laurie." And I was like, "I don't know any rules." He
Yeah.
was like, "Laurie, go do research." And I'm like, "No, you're right, dude. You're right."
Mhm. Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Paul. He's here.
What's up, Paul?
So you're very quick at turning around Kickstarters. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good morning, Christian.
Good morning.
It just that's a goal I think that we all have eventually, you know, to get up to quicker turnaround time so that people can read the story faster. It's hard when it's like, for me, I was hoping to do 3 books this year, but it's like issue number 2 had a printer issue. Now we had a colorist issue, and it's just like, how do you? I mean, and then for you, it's like even when everything goes right, they show up damaged. It's like, damn.
Right. I mean,
Always an
things happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, the production end. Well, listen, I guess lucky in the sense that I've been doing it so long. I already had a back catalog,
Okay.
right? So before even I ever hit Kickstarter, right? I probably had, I don't know, 10, 12
Wow.
issues of Oswald already done in the can, right? So I already had that stuff. So then Kickstarter rolls around, then I start releasing it on Kickstarter. And even while I'm releasing stuff on Kickstarter, I'm still building up material on the back end.
See,
Right.
I think that's great. I would love to get there where I had enough capital where I could be an issue ahead.
Right.
You know,
And
that's how Carissa is right now too. Where
Mhm.
she just finished issue number 5 campaign. It's already printed. So she's fulfilling. She's bagging up stuff today. It ended yesterday.
Yeah.
I would love to get there. I just don't have the capital to
Mhm.
be a whole issue ahead yet. Someday.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Capitalization is important. I mean, whether you're self-capitalizing or in my case, I got lucky. So when I was first starting off,
Not when a project manager runs off with 50K.
well, that was Pioneer's way. That wasn't my cash. It
Thank
just
goodness.
ruined.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, it just ruined the fact that they didn't continue the project. You know, that was the only part that was just like,
Yeah.
But okay, so I had done some stuff for a friend of mine. I brokered a deal for him, right? And then I had gone to pay. Well, he had brokered a deal for me, and I had gone to pay the company that it was going through. And I was like, all right, I called up and they were like, oh yeah, that guy doesn't work here anymore. And I was like, really? I was like, okay. He says, well, I'm calling to pay this off. And they go look and they're like, nah, I don't see any paperwork. That doesn't exist. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, well, it's nice talking to you. Click.
Yeah, I'm not paying nothing back if you don't know it.
Right.
Bye.
Right. So
Lose this number.
So I was supposed to pay out about $5,000, right?
Yeah.
And I've told this story many times. It's like, most normal people will go on vacation, save up for their retirement, buy a car. I was like, I could do a combo. Right. So that's what I did. I went ahead and I found my artist and she had given me a rate and I was just like, okay, let's do this. And we did it. And it's just been that ever since.
Yeah.
And it's just, you just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. And then basically what it is I just keep trying to remanufacture that $5,000. Right. So I'm constantly like just reshifting it.
Right. Putting it into projects ahead and then put it on Kickstarter, pay yourself back. Your 5,000 is there again. Start the next one. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just keep doing that over and over again. But that initial capitalization is important. You have to try to get there. And I tell everybody, it's like, look, there are a few different ways you could do it. Like I work with a number of different artists, right? One of the things I do is I'll work with an artist. I say, listen, I don't need, like, some people work weird. Like I find the system where you'll say, look, I got X amount of cash. What's your page rate? Okay, here's a bunch of cash. Go draw these pages, right? Mm-hmm. And and then people get mad when the artist is like, oh, well, I could only get you like so many pages this week or so many pages this week, and then they disappear on you for a while because they went to go do a book for like Boom or Zenoscope or something. Then they're back 6 months later and then like, oh, well, I got more pages for you, right? And I'm like, no. So what I'll do is I'll commission somebody. I'll say, listen, it says I want 2 pages a week. Okay, can you commit to that, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's what we'll do. And I'll usually pay them in 5 or 10 page increments. So when you complete 5 pages, I'll pay, and I pay half up front. So there's, the retainer, and, they'll deliver 5, and I'll pay them the second half and the first half of the next 5. And then we work like that.
Yeah.
Right? And then that way, if something were to happen, I'm not out of big deal. I'm not out of a huge chunk of cash. Right. And if, for some reason I had to fall out, they're not out a huge chunk of time or cash.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's so hard. Writers and artists, and the fine line that we walk is, how we pay each other, because it's like at any time someone could disappear and then one party is out of their investment, and it's hard, especially in indie, in the beginning where there isn't a lot of capital, when it's like, ooh, you set my project back 3 weeks on time and financially X amount of dollars. And it's like, how am I going to make that up? I guess I'm going to go sell some cookies. Right. But it happens, and we just kind of pivot and keep going. It's the only thing you can do.
Yeah. And the other thing I tell people is like, also is if I work a regular day job, but what you can do is you commission artists to do 1 page a week. Right. And that you can do for, that I think most people could do reasonably. And if you can't do that, right, you need to focus on your life and get that straight first.
Yeah.
Get your finances and life straight first. But then when you can afford to do that 1 page a week, you got to remember, in 6 months, you'll have 24 pages.
Right. And that's the hard part. Or it's like, you can go slower, but then takes a lot longer for things to come out. I don't like. So I was like, focus on your life.
There you go.
I mean, it just depends, and it's like, it at some point, can you contribute to the production, because that will help bring your costs down. Like, JD and I both letter, so we don't have to pay a letterer, but that's only if you can do that.
There you go. Focus on your life. Focus.
Oh,
Listen, I mean, I'm like, look, I like to go on vacation, right?
Yes.
You know, I'm like,
Right.
I do that because I have a day job and I can go on
Right.
vacation. And I have my finances separate, and you got to form your LLCs and make sure you're filing your taxes correctly, and doing all that stuff. And if you do things correctly, you can get a check back from the government.
Yep, this is true. Yeah.
If you do things correctly, there are other ways to handle the cash to make sure you're not outputting a lot. There's UILs and all kinds of other things you could do.
Paul, don't work for exposure.
No, don't work for exposure.
Don't work for exposure.
Yeah, don't work for exposure.
Don't do that. Hey, if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you can do something pro bono.
You can. I mean, you can barter and you can do stuff, but don't do a bunch of stuff for free. That's just
no
selling yourself.
We're talking about it like a one-off thing.
Yes.
Right. You do a one-off thing here and there. That's fine.
You can do charity,
right.
Like everybody gets those backers that fall on hard times and they have to cancel their pledge, and whether you're aware of their situation or not. Like I had someone that was falling on hard times, and I was like, listen, I saw your post on Facebook. I understand why you had to cancel your pledge. I'm going to send you a copy anyway.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Right. So you can do stuff like that, and hopefully, when they're back on their feet, they'll follow you again. Who knows?
Exactly.
So, but that's not the reason. I don't know. Anyway, so don't work for exposure, Paul.
That's it. It's different when you're helping out a friend.
Right. That too, where it's like, hey, I need, my colorist died. We disappeared off the planet. Can you help me out? Stuff like that.
Right.
But I want to talk about Oswald Chronicles. Can you pitch that to the chat? There's quite a few people there. I want you to tell people what it's about, and I'll ask you lots of plot questions and all that good stuff. Okay,
so the basic elevator pitch is: what if the greatest sorcerer of our time was reborn in the body of a mouse?
Okay,
so he's the greatest sorcerer of our time, and he's reborn in the body of a mouse, and that's where the adventure begins. And he straddles two worlds: the worlds of magic and the worlds of man. So it's the world of Fae and the world of man, and then he straddles these two worlds, and he's involved in both worlds.
Wow.
But yeah.
So he can move in between?
Yes. Because the Fae.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, well, so the Fae, they're hidden. They live on the same plane of reality. It all happens in New York, right? So Oswald lives. Yeah, he lives on Park Avenue and 54th Street in Manhattan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you have people doing their things and they're riding their bicycles and they're all around. But he also has like trolls and ogres and fairies and red caps and all these other crazy things running around them. And he can see them and they can see him. But the humans can't see them, okay? Because they have glamour, right? So the humans can't see these other people, but they can see Oswald, right?
Okay.
Because he's just a mouse. He's not, but he can see those other creatures.
That's interesting. So he's basically in New York, and then the planes overlap, but humans can't see the Fae, but they can see Oswald.
Correct.
But they just think he's a mouse?
Yeah, well, because he is just a mouse.
He's a mouse. But I mean, like, he's a sorcerer talking mouse.
Right. And, I have an origin story. It's my first day. And in that story, I explain it where, he's with his brothers and sisters. He's set loose on the world, and he realizes he's different. He realizes that he's not the same as his other brothers and sisters. These are some pages from The Light That Attracts. This is another story. This is the campaign that's coming up.
Yes, cool.
So this is illustrated. This is by Jade Gonzalez. Yeah, this is
nice.
And this is just him looking for his friend Diane. She went off to help someone out on this. There's a war that's going on. And evil has been reborn into the world, and she had to go up. And it all happens up in Canada, and he goes up there to see what's going on.
Canadians are evil?
Yeah, well, with all the smog they're sending us at the moment, yes, they are.
Sorry, we're just kidding. We're just kidding, people.
No, I love Canadians, but damn it, get those fires under control.
Yeah. With all the smog, it was really bad. We were in Michigan over the summer, and it was smoggy or the smoky. It's not smog, it's smoke.
Yeah,
right?
it's smoky. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm sure. Did you take pictures of it while it was really bad?
No, I didn't. No, I figured enough for other people doing that, but it was orange. It was really bad. Like the sky was brown. It was terrible.
That's gross.
Yeah, it was really bad. But yeah, but this is. But that was hold on, I can pull up.
I was like, I don't know what happened. It's a black screen.
Sorry about that.
I'll push all the buttons. That's what I say when things go wrong.
But yeah, it's damn, where was I lost my train of thought.
We were talking about just the story in general, but how many issues are in the main story of the Oswald Chronicles at this point?
See, probably I think I have somewhere between 16 and 1800 pages.
Okay.
At this point. Yeah. So it's because all right, originally when I started Oswald, it was prose. It wasn't comics.
Right.
Okay. So when I started, the original concept was Oswald was supposed to be, I guess, a crypt keeper type of character. He was supposed to just tell other people's stories, right?
Okay.
But he ended up, like any good character will, saying, I'm the center of attention. It's all about me, write about me. And that's what it became. And the prose stories, the thing about it was I would produce them in little chapbooks, right?
Okay.
And the thing was that each story was supposed to be singular. So you could buy the one story, read it, and not have to read anything else, right? Comics are a little different because, some of these stories, they're chapbooks, they'd be 20, 30,000 words, where a chapbook, that's fine, it's one thing. But that, when you break that down into a comic book, will be like 5 issues, 6 issues.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's good as a graphic novel.
Yeah.
Right? But we have this thing called what they like to refer to as a lost lead, but you want to try to get a lost lead.
Lost lead?
Lead, yeah, lost lead.
Oh,
so
lost lead.
Yeah, lead.
Lead.
Yeah.
L-E-A-D.
So L-E-A-D, right? So basically what you're doing is you're creating like the floppy is the lost lead for the trade.
Gotcha.
So you're gonna make some money, right, on that stuff, and hopefully build up enough revenue that you break even, and then where you're gonna really make your money is on the trade.
And that's what I've heard over and over and over again. So we're almost there. We got one more floppy to do before we can do the trade.
But it's nice if you could break even just on the or make some money on just the floppies. That's always a good thing, so that's always where you want to be. But it's hard. But I'm somewhere around 1800. And here's the other thing that I did that I would never advise anyone is I started in the middle. I didn't start in the beginning.
What do you mean?
So when I started Oswald, I started the first story I ever wrote was something called the Park Avenue Mall, right? Okay. So it was basically just a story that happened between his two neighbors. They were fighting or whatever, and he got in the middle. He was telling the story. And then the next story was one where it was called We Were Just Passing Through. And that was a story where he encounters a whole different race, and they come on his mall, and they have a war with another race, and they bring all these troubles to his place. But that's the story where Oswald discovers he's really adept at magic. Okay? Like he already knew he had an affinity for it, but he didn't know there was a structure to it. And this particular race introduced him to structured magic, where they gave him books and he could read them and he could learn it. And he could be like, oh, this is how you do it. And he starts to figure things out. Right? And he's like, oh, okay, there's a structure. So
that sounds like a beginning to me.
Yeah, well, the actual beginning is My First Day. And then it rolls into another story called, and then see, here's the other thing, is I went from that to a story called I Was There and I Remember, right? Which happens much deeper in his future. And then it was like, and I started jumping around in his timeline,
I was going to shake my head at this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Please don't.
So yeah, I was just jumping around in his timeline all over the place. So
interesting though, because a lot of times like we have an intended script that we start with, and then like all these ideas come in, and I'm like, oh, I got a spinoff, and then I got a prequel, and then yeah, and it can get difficult jumping around in the timeline if it's not produced
linearly.
Yeah, is that a word?
Yeah.
Okay.
Linearly.
Literally. Can we just say literally wrong for the next 30 seconds? Because that would be a funny clip.
There you go. But
literally.
Yeah, but I mean, and I just started jumping around from time to time. And what the reason I was jumping is because I was trying to figure stuff out in the middle. So I'm like, okay, if I write this story, this will help me figure out something that happened in the past.
Okay.
Right. And then there came a point where it's like, I need to tie all this together.
Yeah.
So I wrote My First Day, and then I wrote something called Passing Queens and Making Homes. And that's like 8 issues, and that's like the first 2 trade paperbacks. And that is one cohesive story. So it's 8 issues, and you can read that from beginning to end. And if you never ever wanted to read another Oswald story, that's it. You could just read that and be like, boom, I got it. I can move on, right? And you'll never see any of the. Here, I'll pull up something that's.
Yeah, show me.
Show you this.
Yeah, and with my script, I sat on it for so long. I think I went through all those growing pains before I even figured out it was a comic. Because I was like, this there, and then this, and then this, and then that. And I was like, none of this. So, okay, put it back together. Anyway.
Right.
Ooh. What's the mouse?
So this is something I'm working on currently. And this happens later on in his life, right? And, he's obviously walking on a beach. He's a much more accomplished sorcerer at this point. And he's been through a rough time by this period. He's contemplating a lot of things. He's had a big fight with a close friend of his, and he's not having he's not having a good day, And then he has well, here's something I can show that might interest somebody on 2 ends. But he encounters the King in Yellow, right? And the King,
that looks scary.
Right. And the King in Yellow, this is Narthalatep. So Narthalatep, he is the messenger of the old gods, and he's bringing Oswald a message from the old gods. And now, here's a little side story. So when the colorist first colored it, he sent it to me like this. It was browns, and it was just like this. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but he's supposed to be the king.
Yellow.
Right, exactly. And I said, listen, color him in yellow. And I said, make his teeth gold, because I think that'd be really creepy.
Ugh.
Right.
You're right.
So, I thought that was a cute or a nice ad in there.
Yeah, then, that takes it up a level for sure.
Yeah.
Oswald's like going through a portal, and then this guy's like,
Right. He's just like, and Oswald, Oswald's familiar with who he is. He knows, he knows of him.
Okay.
And that's why he has this smile on his face, because he's kind of pissed off, and he's kind of looking for a fight.
Yeah, he's like, all right, fine, bring it on. He's like, it's been that kind of a day. At least I can punch somebody and feel better.
Right.
Oof.
And the king, and then it starts off like this. This is the only 5 pages I've gotten back from the colors. The rest of the story is actually complete, but this is in the future. This doesn't happen for a while. But cool. It's
sneak peek here on the Tuesday Morning Brew, everybody.
Yes, definitely a sneak peek. Yeah. So it's one of these things where the story builds and builds and builds.
Yes.
And it has the 3 portions to his life. There's the first portion of his life where he's on the mall in Manhattan, doing somewhat normal things, I guess, that a sorcerer mouse would do. And then there's the second portion of his life where he exists in dream, right? And that's the current story. I was there and I remember where he's retelling this story to a friend of his. And that's the whole point of the title. I was there and I remember, because when we go into dream, we forget. Right?
Yeah.
Or we tend to forget. I know there are people, they try to write them down, and they'll tell you, oh, I remember everything. I'm like, sure you do. And but we tend to forget, what happens. But he remembers. everything that happened in his dream. And he was basically in a self-induced coma for about 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, he had an existence of about 80 years. And during that period, he was he became a husband. He had a family. He had grandkids. He became an emperor, a battle mage. To some, he was a tyrant, and he becomes a very accomplished sorcerer during that period. So in this 2-week period, he walks into Dream with maybe the mindset of a 19 or 20-year-old, right? And we'll remember more or less how innocent we were at that point, right?
Yeah.
And he comes out of that situation being 80-something years old.
That's interesting, where it's like it's only been 2 weeks, but he has lived an entire lifetime and can remember it.
Right.
I'm sure his sorcery skills are, if he's able to remember all of that, that's probably what he took away. But it's just like, can you imagine being 19 when you go in and then coming back as an 80-year-old and being that like wise but kind of curmudgeonly, has seen enough things where like you could, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like having a much more opinion about how terrible life can be if he was a warlord and maybe even a tyrant. That's a lot. So that's an interesting storyline. I mean, I really want to read that one.
Yeah. And then you walk into and you're back in your 19-year-old body.
Yeah.
On top of everything. You're like, oh.
Right. Here I am
I'm
again.
young again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And then he just continues on and he finds out his destiny and what he's supposed to be involved in and all that stuff. And then there's his third life. And that's one that I finished. Here, I can show you this.
Oh my gosh, the manuscript.
Yeah, well, this is the I guess the finale of Oswald, because I finished writing the series.
You handwrite them.
Yeah.
You handwrite them.
Yeah, I handwrite them. I commute back and forth on a train to work.
You have to.
And so.
Yep. You know what's funny? Mine are 3x5 cards. I have a stack of 3x5 cards. That's my original ideas for the script, and so I can like rearrange ideas very easily before I even attempt to write them down.
I try to tell everybody, because a lot of people like to use a keyboard and they're just on hammering the keys. I tell them, I say, listen, you should try long form, because you're gonna write it. And I was discussing this last time, but the one really excellent piece of advice I took from it was Stephen King's book on writing, right?
Interesting.
And the one really interesting thing that I took from that I found that really works for me is he says, in that first draft, write whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Write whatever you want. Do whatever it is you want to do. That first draft is for you. You put in whatever you want. But understand that when you go back and you edit, you're going to probably be removing many, many of your darlings, right? You're going to be ripping stuff out, just getting rid of stuff, because it's not in the service of the story.
Right.
So that's where but I tell everybody, and that's where when I'm transcribing, that's a level of editing. So as I'm going through, I'm doing an edit. And then when I get it, I usually print it out, let it sit for a week or two, sometimes 2 or 3 months, come back to it, do another edit, type in all my corrections, do it all over again. And it usually goes through that process 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I'm still correcting stuff. Like I go, and whenever I'm trying to get into the mood to write more of the story, I'll go back and I'll reread the scripts. And I don't know how many times like you read through it and you know what you're saying. So you just, your brain just fills in the blanks. So I'm like, that's not what I would, you actually sit down and read the words on the page and you're like, that's not supposed to say that. You know what I mean? Then you have to fix it. And it's like, my script is 2018. So I'm still fixing things.
Yeah. Because you'll find stuff where you dropped out a word because you thought the word, but you didn't write the word down.
Right. It's not on the page. And you're like, as you're reading it to yourself and like, and the desert. Like that's supposed to be in there. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
hello.
Yeah. And that's the sort of thing that just happens. It's just
Yeah.
you know.
But my editor catches all that stuff. She's like, "What are you saying here?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, that's the thing."
Yeah.
I try to edit things before I send things to her. Every now and again, I send her something that's really rough, and she's just like, "Lori," I'm like, I'm sorry, give it back." Like, don't even bother. Let me read it again.
Yeah. No, I've been there, done that. So,
right?
You know,
You're like, I'm so embarrassed. Don't read this.
yeah.
Just delete it. I'll send you a new one.
Listen, I've been smacked up by my guy several times. Like, what are you doing?
What is this? So many errors. I'm like, oh, I sent you the wrong one.
Yeah. No, it's usually a thing. My guy Steve, he was like, do me a favor, spell this for me. And I would just spell it for him. Right? And he was like, why is it that I can ask you to spell it here in front of me and you can spell it with no problem, but on your script you can never get it right?
It's probably how you're typing it. Like you type too fast in the word the, you know,
Right.
TEH. How many times have I seen that? Like so stupid. But you're just typing so fast where it's like it turns into something else. Like, sorry, I didn't catch it. I was outpouring. You know what I mean? Where it's like when you get in those like blah phase where it's like the words just need to be on the page. I'm gonna get them out. Sometimes it comes out too fast.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, usually it's mostly just grammatical stuff. There, now, you know,
Right.
no, right?
No,
It's usually that stuff, yeah. So, you know, those are the things you just got to watch out for.
So how many, you said there's like 3 different like acts pretty much for the Oswald. I cannot say it today.
Oswald
Chronicles.
Yeah.
What is wrong with me? Anyway, I can say that word. I don't know what my brain is up to today.
I've heard you say it in the past.
I'm getting angry at my brain. Say it right. Anyway, how many issues, are you going to go? So you have the floppies, you have the trade paperbacks, are you going to do like an omnibus when it's all together? Like, what's the plans for when it's all done?
Right. Well, omnibus is definitely the end goal, and it's probably going to be a couple of them, maybe 3.
Wow.
Yeah, this it's going to be huge, but
what
I think
man, that'll be awesome.
I of course I didn't write it down, but I think I counted out 53 stories.
Wow.
Right?
There's 53 issues or
no? It's 53 stories, and those stories will range anywhere from 1 issue to 8. Right.
You're gonna have your own library. You know, I fell into book talk, but specifically where they they do the outside of the book, the book binding technique.
Okay.
And apparently for fan fiction, you're not allowed to buy it or sell it because, you know what I mean? Like it's somebody else's property. So you can't make money off of it. But they will let you download it for free. And people are printing it and binding it.
Right.
Which is really cool. So I was like, I really want to bind a book. And I can imagine at some point when you have your whole series that we could like make some really nice covers for it and like gild it, have the fine bookmarks and stuff and like the gilded pages. That would be so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of my end goals. You know, I want to have like these nice hardcovers. Yeah. That's
me too, man. Someday.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to get number 3 done.
That's how you start. You know, you have to, you got to start somewhere. You build and you build and you build. Look, I've been doing it for 30 years now.
Yeah.
Right. Like I started literally, I mean, we were looking at
29. That's amazing, man.
So I was looking at these.
Totally.
So this is Dreamweavers. Right? So
yeah.
So this is when I first started. This was dated 1993.
Wow.
So that's,
hey, look who it is! My favorite thrasher, John Westhoff. Hey, man,
what's up, John?
That's that. Which one was that? Put it back up. I didn't see it.
Oh,
more Dreamweavers.
That's more Dreamweavers. That's the second issue, and that's the third issue. You know,
she
and
took
I mean,
a turn, man. She went goth.
Look
at the first one, and then to that one, I was like, oh, that's 2. Where's 1?
This is that's the first issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's no leather and black face paint. She went.
No. That's another. This is those are different characters.
Okay, all right.
This character. This
Gotcha.
where is she? This is Snowflake.
Gotcha. I was like, where'd all the face paint come from?
Yeah, no.
It was like she took a hard left after issue 1.
No. One's a hero, one's a villain. But yeah, but I mean, but it's like, I was looking at that stuff.
1996.
Yeah. Well, 93.
97?
93.
93?
93, yeah.
I'm not even going to tell you how old I was.
I get it all the time. I said, I was 5.
You are ageless, sir. That's why I was like, when we were first talking, you were like, yeah, I was doing books in the 90s getting published. And I was like, excuse me, what? I was like, you're not old enough for that. Were you working when you were 12? Because that's how old I was. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No. I mean, yeah, but, even doing it that long, like, there's still stuff I'm learning, right?
Yeah.
About writing, self-publishing, now it's all about marketing, right?
Well,
about,
with social media, and I'm sure you've seen the big change from like having an editor, having a publisher to now self-publishing, and like the difference. What have you seen evolve from that, and like what works best for you when it comes to like marketing?
For marketing, relying on other people, primarily.
Yeah, you're like, dear Facebook.
Yeah, no. It's funny because, Daphne and I, we have our mailing list, right? So we've been building that for a few years. We're on Facebook fairly actively. Her way more active than I am. Her and Nita complained to me. They're like, you're hardly ever on. Facebook.
I'll put on your show. You have a show.
No. But I mean, on I guess on social media, like posting stuff, like you're supposed to post twice a day or some nonsense.
That's work, man.
Exactly. I don't have time for that. And then and then I stay away from all kind like drama. I don't like whatever, man. You just like whatever, because I'm just like I don't have time for it.
Right. It is. It's time consuming when you get caught up in other people's drama, even if it's not your own drama. You're like, who said this and blah blah blah. I'm like, I have other things I should be doing always, because if I'm not writing, I'm managing a project, and if I'm not managing a project, I'm crafting stuff, or I'm doing videos, or I'm doing riddles, or I'm talking to a publisher. You know what I mean? Or I'm with my family. Like, I don't have time for your drama. God bless you.
Yeah. And exactly. And I'm like the way I look at it is like this. I'm a writer, right? And it's funny because I tell everybody is like, this is my very expensive hobby, right? Like, some people get mad at me. They're like,
I was just saying that. I was talking with one of my neighbors who just moved in on the street, and I was telling him what I do, because like, you do like the block party, and how many times do you hear like, oh, I write comic books from the lady down the street, and they're like, you do what? I'm like, oh yeah, it's a horror Western, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, antennas go up like, you do what? So, and I got more into detail, and he was like, so basically you've made no money off of this? And I was like, yeah, it's pretty much an expensive hobby. Like, all the money that comes in goes back into the comic book.
Right. Exactly. So you're like, it's my very expensive hobby. Like I said, some people get mad because they're like, oh, but you generated, whatever. And I'm like,
but it all goes back into the project. So
it all goes back into the project, yes. But, I do consider, like, when I write something, I like to get paid for it, right?
I would love to get paid for it.
So, well,
do you pay yourself?
No, but what I do is I do collect money. Like, I sell the books, I get paid for the books, and through that process, I pay the artist. Now, I defer my money to them. Okay, the money I'm getting paid, I'm giving to them.
Right.
So to create more stuff for me, right? So it's like, so in some strange way, I'm getting paid. But
I was like, just to make yourself feel better about it, because really your artist is Marco and I are both in Texas, right? And we're not that far away from each other. So I enjoy going to cons where him and I are there together, because we fill both niches, right? Because people are either into comics or they're into art. So when we table together, we have both. So we can usually get one to the other. Like I start talking to somebody, and if I'm not getting a bite, then I'll pass them on to Marco and they might buy something from him and vice versa. But like Marco keeps the money for his art, and then the money that I get from the comic books, I turn around and pay Marco with. So it's like, really, it's just money for Marco at that table. Right? Yeah. I always tease them. I'm like, money for Marco.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's what, that's, but the thing, to getting to the
our story and to see it physically made.
Right. But getting to my point is that if I'm spending time on whatever platform writing, arguing with somebody over stuff, I'm writing, but I'm not getting paid for it.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. Yeah. So, I consider that a waste of time. If I'm writing, I should be earning,
should be for
for a real reason. If I'm writing a friend, that's different. If we're having a conversation as friends, that's different. But if I'm sitting there arguing with somebody over some nonsensical point, I don't know, Anakin is a better character than Darth Vader or whatever nonsense who's gonna win in a fight? Captain America or Spawn? I don't know.
Who cares?
Right? It doesn't matter.
People get sucked in though, don't they?
Oh yeah, they get sucked into all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I prefer to just stick to the writing, stick to the course. But yeah, but to get back to your question, the biggest changes that I've seen in the whole thing is marketing online, marketing through whether it be Facebook or Twitter, Facebook being my main place, DeviantArt and all these different places.
Agreed.
Exactly.
Really, the writer's just like, okay, so and so wins today. That's it. You guys get no say.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's just going out there and trying to find your audience, right? And that's the thing that I tell everybody is like, look, this is, you could be selling to, I mean, I'm raising anywhere from $2,500 to $4,500 per campaign, somewhere in that area, right? But I'm selling to like a couple hundred people, right? But I'm like, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Right. I have a long way to go. I got a long way to go.
And that's I think the timeless question is, how do you find more people for your audience? Right.
And the thing is just diversifying, right? Because primarily what I think what's happening is that like a lot of us are just getting pressed up into Kickstarter, right? And that's a good platform because that's where we're making our initial funds. But now I find myself trying to gravitate back to the direct market, right? And that's a tough one because, like right now I'm PODing, which is print on demand, right? So I can print to order. So if I need 50 books, I print 50 books. Maybe I'll do a little bit of an overrun, maybe 10%, 10 books.
Right.
But through the direct market, the only way you're going to make money is you have to print in volume.
Yes.
Right. So it has to be anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 books if you're doing like a stapled comic book, right? And that's the only way you're going to make cash because you have to get that price point down because POD, as if you don't know, is fairly expensive per issue. Per unit, it'll run you anywhere from $250 to $350 per book, depending where you're printing, whether it's color, black and white, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Whereas, and then you're giving, you have to give, if you got a $5 cover price, you're giving away 60% off to the distributor, right? So you're only making $2 per book. So you got to make your profit in there, And I've been hearing prices like, where people are paying offset, they're paying like $1.10 per book. And I'm like, Jesus, it's ridiculous. You should be paying anywhere from like 50 to 60 cents per issue in color, 32 pages with a cover, right? And
you have to do the big numbers to do that?
Yeah, it helps.
Direct order to, what I mean? Like order upon demand.
Right. Yeah. No, this is in direct to consumer. This is this is direct. This is you're selling to a business, so this is B2B. This is a business.
Gotcha.
Right. So it's not business to consumer. So right, because right now Kickstarter, that's B2C, business to consumer, right? This is B2B, business to business, and then they sell it to another business. So you're selling it to a distributor. They're selling it to a retailer, and then the retailer is selling it to the end, to the end user, which is the fan, which is the consumer.
I haven't even got my brain around that.
Yeah. So yeah, but the thing is, it's volume. So the only way you can do it is if you're selling 2,000 to 3,000 books. Now I'm talking to various guys who are in that milieu. So it's like, how do you get from selling 1,000 books to 1,500 books to 2,000?
Yeah.
Right. And then there's a whole thing about gang. I keep talking to guys about gang printing. It's like I know guys, they're printing stuff, and I'm like, why are you not partnering up with this guy, printing your books at the same time, shipping them to the distributor at the same time, so you save money on shipping, right? And you can negotiate a better deal with the printer to get a lower.
Yeah, though, because we tried to do that with a couple of them, and they wouldn't negotiate with us. But I don't know if we just don't have enough people or clout or whatever.
Well, here's the thing, though. It depends who you're talking to, because here's the other thing. We have printers who are kind of ingrained within the industry that we know. What's up, Tim? How you doing? So
I know. I'm over here asking them all the hard questions, Tim. Tell us more.
So we have printers who are already ingrained within the business.
Okay.
Right. Now, here's the thing. All right, let's get into the weeds. Let's roll up the sleeves a little bit. So print on demand, right?
Right.
Print on demand, as we know, there's set costs for those printers. Okay, so those set costs, they can't really get around them because they have to pay. They're paying a certain amount. Like, let's say they're using Xerox, right? That's the company, that's the machine they're using. So they're paying usually a rental fee for their lease cost on that machine. Plus, they're paying what's called a click count. So you're paying per copy. So they're fixed costs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to work for a company that leased copy machines, so all of that makes sense to me.
Right. So you get that, right? So you got fixed costs. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're doing offset, right, your those costs, the more you print, the cheaper it gets. Okay. Right. Because the initial cost is in the setup of the equipment of the machine. So it's the guys literally putting the plates on the machines, tightening the screws, making sure everything's run right. Once everything's great. Now, whether you do 1,000 books or 10 million books, that cost is the same.
For the setup. Yeah.
For the setup. Right. Yeah. So, right. For the initial setup is always the same. So the more you print, the cheaper it's going to be.
Right.
Okay. So that's why if you ever look and you contact what I would like to refer to as like a real offset printer, you're going to get a price for 1,000 books, and let's say that price is going to be $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Then you're going to ask for 2,000 books, and you're going to see that price is maybe like $1,700. Then you're going to ask for 3,000 books, and you're going to see that price might be $2,000. Right. And then you're going to see like 5,000 books will be like $2,500.
The investment goes up, but the per item cost goes down. So you're going to get more bang for your buck. The problem is do you have the capital to put out to be able to afford that lower cost? And then where do you put all your stuff?
Right. And those are the other questions. Because I wouldn't even concern myself with how much money you have to capitalize buying that stuff.
Yeah.
I would concern myself more with, are you going to be able to sell it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Because it's all great for me to just put out the money and get the lower price, but it's just sitting there in my house. It's not doing anything. It's not a benefit to me. I need to be able to go out and have someone purchase it so that way it goes back into my bank account. I was just talking about this. I was like, I need to contact some local comic book stores. I'm like, because I have inventory.
Right.
I have inventory. And my husband's like, what's the pressing need? I'm like, I have inventory. That's all that we need to know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm like, if it's sitting in my house, it's not doing anything.
Correct. And that's the thing. And that's where I'm saying, like, we need, like I said, we're pressed up in a Kickstarter. So it's like, trying to get into the direct market, trying to get into bookstores. But there are other venues, whether it be like Amazon or selling on Walmart's, marketplace, and trying to get into these other venues as well. And it's just, it's daunting. It's daunting because, we have a lot, as individual self-publishers, we have a lot of different places we have to like touch on.
Hey, D, who is your printer these days? Sorry if you already answered this, Tim.
I'm using an Aaron Kane. You can find him on Facebook.
Aaron Cain, C-A-N-E?
C-A-I-N.
C-A-I-N. Thank you.
So it's A-A-R, Aaron, and then Cain. Yeah, and then just look him up. He's cool people. He's a good guy. Tell him JD sent you.
Tell him JD sent you? Awesome.
Tell him JD sent you.
And then Glenn says this is the downside of self-publishing. Right, because it's like not only do you have to worry about getting it out there and doing the marketing and paying the artists and raising the funds, and now it's like, okay, how many do I print? What's the cost? How can I get my costs down? Where do I distribute these to? All right, all of it, right? Because you're doing it all yourself.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. Now, like
Paul's
I said,
gonna sell all my books for me. Thank you, Paul.
There you go. Nice. There you go. You can sell my books too. Thank you.
Yeah. Here, Paul, that's your new job. You just go sell everybody's books. Hey.
Exactly. There you go.
We'll find you.
Listen, that's a business.
Right. Why a real publisher gets most of the money, they put the money up from the start. Well, as long as they're putting the money up and they're distributing, the distribution is there. I understand why there's more of like a royalty setup as opposed to, like you don't get 50%, you get royalties, but everything is negotiable. Who's here? Brandon? Watching in the shadows. Creeper. Hello, Brandon.
Now, the difference between the markets from when I started to now is when I was self-publishing back then, we had 14 different distributors.
Okay.
And these books, I was printing up about 6,000 copies of, and I was selling those. I was selling about 4,500 to 5,000 of them.
Directly to the distributor?
Yes, to the distributors, 14 of them.
Yes. Okay.
Right, and they were all over the place. There were guys. There was one set up in Hawaii. There were California, Colorado. They were all over the place.
Is that the same now, or are they gone?
No, they're all gone. It all got consolidated. I don't know, 2000 and something, when Marvel purchased Heroes World and Diamond went ahead and tried to get everybody exclusive. They went into a war with another distributor called Capital City, and Capital City ended up losing that war, and we just ended up with Diamond. And now it's fracturing again because DC pulled away from Diamond, Marvel's pulled away from Diamond, Images pulled away from Diamond. So now we have Diamond, we have Lunar, we have another distributor, another big distributor that's going to be coming in from Canada. But back then, as a self-publisher that nobody knew, I was a kid, right, working with a bunch of other kids, and we could sell 3,000 to 5,000 copies. Now you put in a book through Diamond, if you can make 2,000, sell 2,000 copies, you're lucky.
So with Diamond, though, are they printing them and distributing them? You still have to print them and then send them. And then
you ship it to them, and then they'll take it from there. Right.
So they're purchasing them. Right. Basically a wholesale price.
Yes.
Small markup.
Right. So typically it's 60% off. Typically. Sometimes they'll ask for 65%, depends. So if you got a $5 book, you're going to get $2 on the return. Diamond usually keeps 20%, and then another 40% goes to the retailer. The retailer has to eat too. Right. So retailers usually make what you're making. They're going to make $2 per book. You're going to make $2 a book. Diamond's going to make $1. Sometimes for their higher end retailers who order a lot of books, they're going to give those retailers bigger discount. So, instead of making $2 a book, maybe they'll make $2.25, $2.50, whatever. So they'll make a little bit less, but they're going to sell more in volume. And that's where the business that we forget about this business. The business was always based and predicated on volume.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right now, we're focused on this is boutique. Right. This is a boutique business right now. When you're selling through Kickstarter, and even if you're selling 1,000 books, you understand that's a drop in the bucket in comparison to what's sold in some of some
Yeah, like Harry Potter. How many Harry Potter books are on the market?
Tens of millions.
Bookstores right now. You know what I mean? And people, so that's what obviously the aim is to get it on every shelf everywhere.
Right. Well, that's one way of doing it. Because there's so many different ways. Because listen, if I could sell 1,000 books through Kickstarter, I mean, you're talking about a $20,000, $30,000 campaign.
Right.
Right. Because I'm getting in all the funds, but I'm also doing all the work.
You're doing, yeah, that's the hard part.
Right. So that's the other thing.
That's a
So
huge
I mean,
fulfillment. Oh my God. You better call RJ for that.
there you go.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that's a challenge I take on. I just call my boss. I say, listen, I need to take a week off.
Like,
You know.
hey, you're gonna come here, I'll feed you pizza.
Yeah. I said, no, I'll be like, no, I'll do it all myself. I'll take a week off. I love packing books.
I love packing books too. Okay, I'm not alone. People are like, oh, I hate fulfillment. I'm like, I'm packing books. I'm packing my book. They're like, I'm packing it with love. I got custom stickers made because I love it, right? And I'm putting all the little goodies in there and secret notes with riddles on them. I'm like, I love doing this crap. And like, people are, once I'm not able to do it, I feel like it'll have less of that personal touch. So I always want to be able to at least have my hands on some part of the fulfillment if I can.
Yeah, no, of course. But yeah, but that's the all right. That's like the crazy end of the business is trying to get.
What do you think about this, JD?
What?
We
should group up and
sell everyone's stuff in our respective territories.
That's interesting, and I do
what do you
think
mean you'll
like
take Texas. You're gonna fight me. Is what's gonna happen. I got a potato peeler, Paul. I'm gonna come for you.
Are you trying?
I totally derailed your train of thought. You're like, I got nothing to say after that. I don't know. I was just curious. Like, what do you think about that? Like, networking with other independents, where it's like, let's say my book costs $3, your book costs $3, so we trade like 20 copies, and we sell in other markets.
Right. I think that's very interesting. See, here's the problem. See, the direct market works because here's the thing. Diamond, what they're gonna do is they're gonna pre-sell your book, and they're gonna give you a number, and you're gonna ship those books to them, and then they're gonna cut you a check eventually. Usually within 30 days, and you're gonna get that money, right, for those books.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot of the deals that I see happening right now is consignment, right? So you're giving your books over to a bookstore. You're like, here's like 10 copies or whatever, and those books could sit there for months before selling, right?
Yeah.
And I was just having this conversation the other day with someone who was like, look, I would rather a store order 3 copies of my book, sell those 3 copies, than give them 10 books on consignment, and still sell only those 3 copies and have 7 copies sitting there for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Right. Because then you guaranteed a sale, right? Those sales, I feel, a store, look, if a store can't sell 3 copies of your book, of any book, it doesn't mean any book, right? Of quality, right? Because there's some stuff that just, it's just like, God, why is it even there? But, it just happens, right? But any sort of shop that just can't sell 3 books.
It is good steak down here, I gotta say, man. There's lots of good stuff.
Yeah, that's why I have to go to Texas, get some really good steak. But I mean, when you're dealing with consignment, it's hard. Because
I don't think I've ever considered consignment. It's always been like what you said, where it's like, if people are interested in having some indie comic books, buy a small amount if you're interested, like 5, 10.
Right.
And then once you sell those, if you're interested in more, we'll do some more.
Exactly. Yeah. But you get a lot of retailers, they want to do consignment, and you're just like, who has time for that? It just
doesn't make sense.
Right. Because here's the thing, with consignment, I drop off the books, then I have to come back to you. I have to come back to you to collect the money.
Yes.
Whereas if I just give you 3, if you just buy 3 books from me, our transaction is done.
Right. And then you can sell them for whatever price you want, right? That's the thing with me, is like, I give you my price, you pay me my price, and then you can sell them, you can upsell them for as much as you want. It's your store, you do what you want. But here's the other thing that I have. So if you're trading comics with someone else, Paul, I was thinking about this. I can't pitch your book as well as I can pitch mine. See, that's the thing.
See, that's true. But the thing is, though, there are retailers out there every day, right, who are selling books that they have nothing to do with.
Right. That's different. If I'm tabling and I have 6 books 5 of them belong to someone else, and one of them is mine. Which do you think I'm best at pitching? My own.
No.
Right?
No. I get you. What's funny is I actually don't like pitching my book. I actually have an easier. Yeah, I have an easier time selling other people's stuff.
Carissa's like, can you please pitch my book for me? I'm like, you need to learn how to do it.
Right. Yeah. Because I get self-conscious of talking about my stuff. I was like,
really?
Oh yeah, I get very self-conscious.
I mean, I get that because we're all kind of like afraid of what the judgment can be, but people generally like hearing what you have to say about your own project. And my thing is you're the one that's passionate about it, and no one else is going to be able to tap into the passion that you have for your own project. So I don't know. I've worked in sales before, so it's kind of like you just got to get over yourself and do it. Like, have you ever sold? I worked at a bank and I worked at a jewelry store. So it's like, you want the commission. You ask for the sale.
This is very true.
Useless stuff. I would rather sell my own story, which I love, than find a salesperson. So Paul is just really wanting to sell my books.
There you go. It's a good job. Paul's building his own business.
All right. I mean, there's commission involved, I'm sure. Doing consignment, asked you to. Yeah, we already. Sorry, Paul. Repeating. But I mean, that's what I think too. Like, I think I can sell my book better than a retailer can.
Oh yeah, this is definitely true. But I mean, this.
But that's also their job, right?
This is Rosario all the time. JD, my co-host, where I tell him, I said, look, listen, I want my book. I want to not have to be there to sell my book.
Yeah, that too. I want other people to sell my book. I want my book to be selling on multiple platforms. And so that way I can be asleep and my book can be sold.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So then that way I can release one book, people will read it, say, oh, I like this, and they'll go buy more.
Right.
And I don't have to be there constantly hawking it.
Right. But then they have to, the problem is they have to know you exist. So then you have to still have to do the work. So it's just a big circle.
Yes, it is.
Damn it.
It is. But you got to. It's the constant game. You just got to constantly keep pushing.
Yeah.
And it's it all boils down to revenue, right?
Yeah. And I'm just glad that there's people like you out there where it's like are willing to come on shows and tell us your experience. What works and what hasn't, and what you've seen change, and how we can adapt. Because there's a lot of us that are new to the game that would really like to be successful and to be where you are and have all those books under your name. Is such an accomplishment. It's like hashtag life goals, right?
Right.
I mean, you are someday.
Yeah. Okay. I laugh because I'm just like, where am I really? No, it's
a lot farther than most of us. So
I mean, I look at it like this. I mean, my thing is like I enjoy it. I have fun. This is what I do for fun. I have my day job. I'm gonna go to work, and I'm like gonna be there screaming at my coworkers for whatever reason, and right. And then I'm gonna come home to do more work, but it's work that I enjoy.
Right. It's your release.
Right.
You escape.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I find that's the same for a lot of us, where it's like, the mundane can be overwhelming to a point where it's like, I would rather be in my apocalyptic world, walking around creating stories for someone else to experience than dealing with bills or sick kids or whatever is on the agenda for the day.
Exactly. So I mean,
co-workers having drama.
Or just people not showing up to work.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
I gotta do your job and my job today. You owe me.
Yes.
And more than just lunch.
That's all right. I get back at them.
Do they all know what you do? I'm just curious.
Some of them. It's funny because they'll ask me, oh, should I watch your podcast? And I'll be like, look, unless you really know about indie comics and you want to be a self-publisher, I mean, you can watch it, but I've had friends watch it and they're like, yo, it's like you guys are talking Greek. Like, they're like, we don't understand anything you're saying.
Right. And it's like it's shop talk. I mean, and that's anything. Like my husband and his coworkers get together and they talk shop. Like we went to a Christmas party and they were talking, and I was just like, this is the least amount I have ever talked at a party ever. Like, because I have no clue what they're saying. But they do. So that's funny, you know. It's such a niche kind of world that we're in. And sometimes people looking in, they have a lot of questions, but they don't quite understand exactly what we're doing.
Right. They don't get it. It's just like, yeah, well, you know, that's why I try to, you know, on my show is like, it's one of those things where you're trying to like explain, you know, what's going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have some shows on my channel that I'm going to do eventually where it's going to be straight shop talk, where it's going to be like, look, like, let's discuss the business and let's talk about going through the business. Right. So it's going to be like, okay, so you got a book. What's next?
Yeah.
All right. You're going to scan the book. All right. You got the book scanned in. You got to put together, like, how do you put together that file?
Yeah.
Right? What type of file are you going to deliver to the printer?
Right.
You know, what's the DPI on that? What is DPI?
Yeah. What is DPI? People are like,
right? Yeah.
Because I'm like, what's the format? You're like, what's the size of the canvas? What's the bleed? Where, you know, what's that? You know, how much
exactly?
Is are you printing in RBG or CM? You know, CYMK?
CMYK, right?
It's all of that. And when I first started, I was like, who? What?
Right.
What is the bleed? You know. So yeah, that would be really cool if you could do like a whole series of. So you decided to be an indie comic creator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So strap in, buddy. Strap in, buddy.
It's gonna be a wild ride. Can I like come by with like guns and a cowboy, like woo, like?
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Welcome to the party. That's all I want to do is just walk by and say, "Welcome to the party," like Yosemite Sam or something.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, so let me ask you a question. So you're new to this.
Yeah.
Like, what is the most like stunning thing that you like I did like that was the most eye-opening thing to you that when you started doing it, like you expected one thing, but it was completely like totally different.
Well, I came in with like no knowledge of anything, right? And for me, it was the cost. It was like, how much do I need to raise on Kickstarter in order to fund my comic? And it's not just page rate, right? Because there's page rate, there's how many artists, there's the print cost, the ship cost, and then you start adding in all the merchandise and then the fees. And this is something that I still try to communicate to my backers, because when we first started on issue 1 and I came out with my budget's pretty. If you look at Path of the Pale Rider #1 versus most #1s, another series, a lot of times people Kickstarted for like $500.
Right.
And my first goal was $4,550 because I did the math about what it was going to cost. And I had no clue that my goal was like exponentially higher than everybody else's because I had no experience, right? But now when we're creating issues in color, I'm still trying to explain to the backers, I'm like, even though we've hit our goal, we got to keep going. And like, what are we going to do with all the extra money? I'm like, I'm paying another artist to color the comic. You understand that, right? I'm like, and now that we're in color, the print charge goes up. Understand that, right? And like, once the goal, we start making more money, the fees are higher, right? So now I'm getting less of what we're making, and we haven't hit our color goal until we're like at 6,000 instead of 4,550. So it's just hard to explain to people, like the budgeting, the math, the pre-planning that goes into every single campaign. I was surprised at how much work is involved. But again, when you go in with no knowledge, and then you do it a couple times, then you're like, all right, this is what needs to be done in order to be successful. But it's I had no clue going in that it was going to be that big of a financial obligation in order to just turn out one issue. Surprise. But it's different. Again, it just depends on, like, you and I are writers, so we're paying an artist a page rate. I'm paying an artist, I'm paying a colorist, so there's two of them. I'm not paying a letterer. But then if you do variant covers, you're paying additional artists, right? So there's all these costs that add up. When you're in a Kickstarter as an artist, not paying yourself, it's a lot different. right? Because that art cost, that page rate.
Oh yeah, like Daphne.
Like if she does
like
all her own art and she writes the comic, she's paying for the print and the ship and the merchandise, right? So people need to understand what exactly they're paying for as well, because it's like, how come Daphne can produce a book and her goal is only $2,000, and Laura, you need $6,000? Why is your book so much more expensive? It's like, well, I got to pay an artist, guys, because I'm not drawing unless you want stick figures.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean that was for me the biggest shock coming into it. I was like, wow, I can't, Yeah. But thank God for crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Fund My Comic, where it becomes a possibility to self-publish.
Yes.
Because otherwise, I'd probably still be waiting for a literary. My literary agent would be like, "Hey, we got a bite, maybe." First time writer. Good luck. A lot different.
I wouldn't be anywhere near as far as I am, in this, because when I first started, I was just selling the stuff at conventions, right? So I would have to finance through there, because I mean, I told you the thing, like the first story I financed because that situation happened and I had that lump of money land on my lap. And then when I ran out of that money and I had to move it, and that story was finished, the artist was like, are we going to do something more? And I was like, yeah, I want to do something more. I'm like, damn, where am I going to get this money from? Right.
Yeah.
And at the time I was playing online poker, and I was actually pretty good at it. And I had some funds, and I said, hey, let me cash out. And I took those funds and I paid my artist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was that. And then the U.S. government put the hammer on all those websites.
They're like, oh, you use gambling funds to pay for things? Oh, we want a slice, please.
Yeah.
Take some of that.
They put the big kibosh. That sucked. Man. I was a terror on some of those tables. It was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just like that. But getting back to the business, I mean, there's so many different aspects we have to work through as self-publishers. So many different hats we have to wear. And I mean, and there's just so many different things we have to watch out for.
What's some advice that you would give to someone who is just starting?
Go do something else. No.
Come on.
No.
Who's just starting, and they're interested in what would you say of good advice? Like, do this and also don't do this. So give me one positive, like look into this or read whatever it is, and then try to stay away from XYZ. Can you give me one of each?
Okay. Now, see, the thing is, it depends where that person's at.
Brand new. Have never run a Kickstarter. They have a story. They have no artist.
Okay. So the first thing I would do is all right, well, you need an artist, right? Mm-hmm. So the first thing I would tell them is make sure you have a budget. Okay.
A budget, yes.
Right. Get your money together first. All right. Get a budget together. Get your money together, and then find an artist that fits within your budget, right? Because you can find artists all over the stratosphere. You can find them from $25 a page to $500 a page.
Yes.
And anything in between, right?
Yeah.
Find where you're at, right? You might be a trust fund baby. You might be able to afford $500 a page.
Right.
God bless you, right?
God bless you. Make your comment.
Right. Exactly. Go do whatever you like.
Right. That's
not right. Most of us are not that gifted, not that well off. So, you're gonna find the artist that fits within your budget, right? And like I said, if you don't have a lot of money, you can always contract an artist to do 1 page a week, 2 pages a week. See if you can afford that, and then you get your book together, right? And that's the easiest thing to do. Obviously, there's the whole thing about contracts and all that stuff. You make sure you talk to a contract lawyer. Or, you just talk to people within the industry that have boilerplate contracts, and you make sure you get that figured out between you and your artist. The other thing is are you looking to have a partner, or are you just looking to hire, right? So those are the things to consider. Because I've done projects like this project at Dreamweavers, Tall Tales. Those 2 projects, Daphne's my partner. on Dreamweavers, Matt Lunsford is my partner. Okay, these are not hired guns. These are people
define what partner means to people.
They're 50-50 owners.
50 on everything.
Yeah, right. It's a 50-50 ownership, right? Whereas opposed to something like the Oswald Chronicles, where I'm paying hired guns to do the work, and it's mine. It's basically work for hire. Like if you work for Marvel DC, it's that sort of situation. So it's that. So you got to figure out where you are in that spectrum, and then also you have to figure out, some people get ridiculous. They're like, oh, all I want to do, they just want to do right by the artist, right? And they're like, oh, I just want to do right by the artist, do right by the artist. I said, listen, that's fantastic. I says, but you can't take care of the artist unless you take care of yourself first. Okay. So the thing is like, you're not going to pay out any royalties to the artist or not promise any royalties until you've at least doubled what you've put into it. Right. So that's one of the things a lot of people don't think about. Is, oh, I'm going to pay royalties and this, that, and the other thing. I'm
royalties on what? No one's reading your comic.
Right. So you have to first, at least, I would say, not only just break even, but double your funds. So if you put in 1,000, you should make at least 2,000. And then maybe at that point, you can start talking about a royalty, 5-10%, or whatever. Right. And then you can say, okay, now I'll start kicking you back some money. But not until that point. Make your money and then make some more. Because I've heard some ridiculous stuff. Like people just, from book one, they just start paying off royalty. And I'm like, you haven't made your money back.
How? That doesn't, never mind. That's
right.
Not good
like
business.
I said it.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a good business practice. So, and then there's other things like where, some artists, they want to get paid in advance. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to work today, right? And the work I do today, I'll see a check 2 weeks from now for it.
Right?
Right?
Right. Why are you so special?
Exactly. So, and here's the thing, and it depends everywhere you're at. That's why I say you pay a small retainer up front for 2 or 3 pages, for 4 or 5 pages. So then that way, you develop that trust. And then once things get rolling, you start getting familiar with somebody, and then maybe you can loosen up on some of those things and do whatever, but you got to build that trust and you got to build that familiarity with another person,
right?
Yeah, but when I get an artist and they're like, oh no, you got to pay me up front, I'm like, look, I got 30 years experience in this. I have a body of work behind this, right?
You don't get that way by not paying artists,
right? What can you show me that you've done similarly? Can I just give me a list of your contacts that I can contact, right? That'll tell me that you're a reliable artist. That when you say you're going to deliver, you're going to deliver
on deadline, not 6 months after deadline.
Come across.
I don't count.
Right. Yeah, exactly. 6 months after deadline, or they just ghost you altogether. Right. So it's So those are the things you got to watch out. Those are the things. You got to watch out for. But definitely the first thing I would definitely say is get your money together and then start moving forward and plan accordingly,
Never thought I'd hear someone laugh as madly as why?
It's definitely ironic that JD is here. Okay.
When did she laugh like that? I missed it.
I don't know.
Yeah, she just has a good laugh.
Yes. Well, she does. She has a very good laugh.
She's good people. I've been on her show too. I like her.
Yeah.
It's been a while. What would you say to stay away from?
The key thing is to stay away from is your brain. And when I say that, right, it sounds weird, right? Is stay away from introspective imagination. All right, that's where you sit back and you say to yourself, "Oh, you'll start doing convention math." Okay, there's 100,000 people going to go to San Diego, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to San Diego. I'm going to print 10,000 books. All I need is for 10% of the people that go to the show to buy my book. I could do that. It'll never happen. You'll be lucky if you sell 200 books.
Yeah.
Maybe 300 books. Okay? So, we all sit back and we'll say, oh, well, I'll reach out. My product is the greatest book in the world. Maybe it is, right? but you're probably not going to barnstorm the universe with it. You're not going to become J.K. Rowling out the gate. So plan accordingly and just take it slowly, and just go out there and just be cool. Just go out there. You may right out the gate. You may end up, if you're just a writer, you may end up with the right artist. They do the right cover for you. You're like, it just takes off for whatever reason. Some people, it's a goofy title, right? Like there's some titles, you hear and they're just goofy. And that's the reason the book took off. Not because it was any good, but because the title was goofy. Okay. Right?
Battle Pope.
Yeah, I've heard goofier.
Tell me. No? Oh, come on. Chicken. No, I didn't say profane.
No, I don't want to put anybody out on blast.
I love Battle Pope. I mean, it's
no, Battle Pope. That's Robert Kirkman. That dude is rich. He doesn't care what anybody says. He's a Walking Dead. Look at that guy. That guy's rich. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah.
Right. There you go. As goofy as the titles you can get.
Right. Exactly. And whoever thought.
Right.
Whoever thought.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that was the book that inspired me to go ahead and do comics because I saw that and I was like, I could do that. And here I am still chasing sons of bitches.
I think my inspiration was The Watchmen.
Okay.
Really liked the dark take because everything before that was kind of superheroes, and we read a lot of Batman, but it was like The Watchmen where I was like, ooh, look at this, look what else, look how many layers there are to this. I want to do that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, for me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was my go to do self-published comics.
Yeah.
It was for me to say, let me go self-publish. As far as writing is concerned, for me, it was Frank Miller and Daredevil.
Yes.
So
Frank Miller is such an amazing writer. So much good stuff. Dark stuff. Really focuses on the depths of humanity, what we're capable of, the things that we go through. Just really interesting, I find that's why I kind of stick to darker themes as well, is because it's where people are pushed to make decisions that they wouldn't have to. So that's what kind of draws me. You read Stephen King too? Interesting.
I've read one book of his, and it was his how to write by Stephen King. That's the only book of his.
JD, go read The Green Mile, the novella ones. Because it's not like getting involved in The Stand or It or giant investment where it takes a lot of time to slog through his books sometimes. Go read The Green Mile. It's I think 5 or 7 little books, and they're so fabulous, and it's so outside of what you would think is Stephen King. They're so good. And then you could be like, all right, I understand why. We got to start wrapping up. Dang it, man. 2 hours flew by today.
Yeah, definitely.
Good conversation. Always make time go by quick. One more time, everybody. Here is the next campaign that JD's going to be running in his conquest to take over the world with his books. So this is Oswald Chronicles. I said it right this time. Light that attracts. We have 34 followers, me included, who will be watching this one launch. And this is a number, I don't know how many into your series you are at this point, but I don't to do.
I give them individual story, and what I've been doing is I give out these things now. So
it has the list. Yeah, that's smart.
Those are checklists. Yeah, those are checklists, and they have basically all the stories. And you can check them off, and they're in chronological order. So if you read them in this order, that's the order they're supposed to be.
I'm gonna need one of those, please.
Oh, yeah.
So this is great. So we can all watch when this launches. When do you plan on launching this one?
Within the next 2 weeks. Hopefully within the next.
Secrets.
Next 7 days, I'm hoping. Wow. But it depends. I'm just waiting for my books to get delivered from the printer.
I feel you. You're like, any day now.
Exactly. Because I don't want to release the next campaign until I'm done with the prior, with shipping off the last package.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I'm like that too. I had just a weird situation. I was real worried that people weren't going to come back because they didn't get their books because my printer disappeared. I was not happy. But
that's not good.
yeah, I mean, people knew it was done. I already sent in the PDF. Just printer, like I think he printed the cover pages and then disappeared when he was printing the interiors.
Wow.
So it was a really unique situation. I hope to never go through that again. But yeah, so I like.
Did he ever resurface?
He did, and he finished the books, and they were beautiful. I still don't understand why he disappeared. He showed up like nothing had happened.
Okay, like you got.
It was like, hey, have you ordered those books from anywhere else? I was like, no, and he was like, good, because I'm gonna finish printing them tomorrow, and I'll ship them to you on Thursday. And I was like, okay.
Okay, you're like, did you go on vacation and not tell anybody?
Yeah, pretty much. Like that seems to happen to me a lot, where people go on vacation, and I'm like, where were you? They're like, I was on vacation. I'm like, I would have liked to know about that.
Yeah, exactly. You could have just told me.
No, could have told me so I could plan around it. No, okay, great.
Yeah.
Whatever. Weird stuff happens. Here is the link. So you can go hit that green. This is usually green right here where it says saved. It's only white because I clicked on it. But there's usually a green banner that says notify me upon launch. Go click it. Here's the link. You can go there. And so that way you can also be notified upon launch when JD's project launches. And there you go. I'm looking forward to see what kind of stuff you have. I'm sure you're going to have some kind of a catch-up tier, yes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Always have those. You know.
Where is your show and how often does it come on?
Okay, so most Sunday nights at 7:30 p.m.
I'm sorry, say again. Sunday nights at what time?
7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Right. Except this Sunday, which I'm doing it at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because I'm doing a show with where all the guests are from Britain.
Oh,
so
okay.
The time difference, it's a 5-hour time difference.
So they're not like at 4 a.m. on your show,
right?
Blurry-eyed and making no sense.
Exactly. So
like, I already can't understand you because your accent. Now you're tired. I have no clue what you're saying.
Yep. So I'm doing that this way, but most weeks is 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Indie Comics Explained, where I just sit around with a group of independent publishers. We talk comics, much similar to what I was just doing here today with Laurie, and we're just discussing the business of comics. You know,
I've been on JD's show. It's fabulous. If you are in indie, go listen to what they have to say. We've talked about everything from publishing, marketing, working cons, all sorts of stuff, printing. I've learned so much just from going on people's panel shows that it's, I want to say it. I lost my words, JD.
That's fine. But listen, but yeah, it's a time for all of us to share. You know, like we share our thoughts, we share our opinions. We also share our knowledge and what we know and what we've been through. You know, so and the thing is if you're a new publisher or if you just got a question, if you're an old publisher, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, if you got a question, just ask. Right, just ask. Because, you know, we might have, right. We just come at it from a different angle. And,
yeah.
And that's the thing.
What word was I trying to say there? Something like you couldn't, it's like, it's worth your time to be there. It will save you money because you're learning something to help run your business about indie. We're so specific at what we do. And I think JD really pulls together a great panel all the time, you know, talking, you have experienced people, you have new people, anybody that's just able to share their perspective, and we all learn from each other, and it's a great time. So I like getting on there with the other JD and teasing him about stuff too. You guys are hilarious. JD and JD are fun to watch. So I highly recommend catching that show as well. Anything else that we can share on about where the people can find you?
Yeah, well, like on the screen it says the Oswald Chronicle, OswaldChronicles.com, TallTalesOnline.com. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, all under JD Calderon. Usually on Facebook. That's where I do most of my posting. I tend to stay away from Twitter. If you, I'm usually just posting up like my campaign on Twitter. It's like, and I run off of there like a bat out of hell.
It's a breeding ground of drama right now.
Exactly. Love the Twitter people. Love
Yeah.
the Twitter people.
Oh, it's its own animal. They all are, but wow, Twitter.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really
you
had
for
a good
having me.
time. I love having these shows where it's like, again, I get to have one-on-one time with all these indie creators that I maybe have touched, their lives at some point, but it's like now we get to actually hang out and I get to learn all about you and your amazing story and get inspired to go get back to work.
That's what it's all about. Getting back to work.
Right? Get back to work, people. And I just the knowledge that you have from your experience and everything that you have and being that generous to share with everybody, I applaud you for it and thank you for it. And I look forward to learning more from you, sir.
And just remember, everybody, buy more indie comics, especially ours. Thank you.
Go click the link and sign up for the pre-launch for the Oswald Chronicles, please.
Yes.
Because if I keep saying it, my brain keeps messing it up. I'm going to be mad with myself. It's been that kind of a show, whatever. So thank you all for coming. I will see you all next week with some more coffee, more independent creators. I love you all. Be kind to each other, and I will catch you next week. Say bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.